From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, how are you today? I'm glad to be back, and we're joined by our guest from the last episode, and he's got some really great things to share with us.
Oh, always good to be here, Steve. How you doing?
Doing all right, doing all right. Excited to welcome back Kevin Rhodus. He's the manager of the platform integration team at QSys, and he has some really great things to share with us. He was on our past episode 243, so catch his background and his fascinating journey in AV, and we're going to continue that conversation on this episode. Welcome back, Kevin.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being back with us. So I teased it a little bit, and you had shared with me and James a really cool personal project that you work on called the Light Show Network. There's a website for it, lightshownetwork.com. Um, I would like you to just kind of talk about the details of it, but I just want to share with our audience, you have to visit this website because anything that Kevin's going to talk about right now is just the tip of the iceberg. It is intense. So, Kevin, go ahead and jump right in and share a little bit about this project with us.
Yeah. So this is our ninth year. Um, it started, uh, actually started about 10 and a half years ago when I moved in my first house in the neighborhood. Because once you come in, you can't escape, and you'll understand why in a second. Um, so we live in this neighborhood. It's it's really unique in that we've got rolling hills with tons of trees, which makes a great canvas for doing Christmas lights. Um, and so I moved in, my neighbor across the street came over, introduced himself, and like in that first conversation, he's like, I want to build a Christmas light show. And I'm like, well, I happen to know how to do that. When I worked at the zoo, we did a holiday light show every year. I always did the sound side for it, and we brought in people. I'm like, I know what gear they had. We could figure this out and do it. Um, I know DMX lighting from doing theater and stuff. So the first year we just put up static lights, just put up and both had competitions on Black Friday who could buy the most amount of crazy lights from Lowe's and Menards and everywhere. And so then the next year, um, we said, let's do a show. Now, we waited till about the first week in November and then decided to start doing it, which I highly recommend starting sooner than that. But it was the first year was him, me, and we roped in one other neighbor. We're like, hey, we want to put some lights on your yard. And um, so we went at it. I think we had 160 channels of control. We had these basically outdoor DMX dimmers. So we were taking just standard Christmas lights and turning them on and off, and threw some songs together, made a soundtrack, and just started doing it. And people just started showing up. And we went, okay, maybe we could actually pull this off. We learned a lot of stuff that first year. Like we have narrow one-lane roads with steep ditches. We learned we probably need to actually guide people how to drive through it. We also got stopped multiple times saying, hey, like, why are you guys doing this? And we're like, we just want to do it. It's fun. And they're like, well, what are you raising money for and everything? So we also found there's a really good way we can give back with this. And it's just grown since then. So every year we keep adding more and more areas. We're up to 9 houses now. There's roughly 12-ish acres we cover in lights. We transitioned around year 3 or 4 from just doing traditional Christmas lights and dimmers to actually doing pixel lights. So um, every single bulb is individually controllable. We wrap 400 trees with 100 to 200 pixel lights each. We also have a ton of different props. So I've got Baby Yoda floating out in my backyard. There's snowflakes, you name it. So we're probably right about 140,000 pixels this year. So that's just under 500,000 channels of control because every pixel has RG and B values. Um, and it's just grown into this huge thing. We average anywhere from 100 to 400 cars a night coming through here. We run it from the day after Thanksgiving through the first week in January. Um, it's grown to the point now we actually have a 501c3 for the neighborhood doing it. And so we'll pick a local different charity every year, and raise money for them. We've raised well over $100,000 over the past 6, 7 years since we really started doing that. It all goes to them. We all buy our own lights. We do all our own stuff, and it's a blast. It's really cool. It's amazing to actually be in a neighborhood that we get people to go along with these crazy ideas and help with them. Um, I've got a neighbor outside right now with a 40-foot boom lift building a 20-foot tall tunnel for this. So um, this is by far the definition of how far can you take Christmas lights.
Amazing, amazing. And as I said, words don't do it justice. You must visit this website. You must watch some of the videos. Um, and this is not your everyday project. This is
No,
intense.
this is pretty much a year-round effort for us. We start, well, in January we start taking down stuff, and by the time a lot of it we do keep up, because unwrapping 400 trees in the middle of winter in Ohio is not fun. Um, and we found it's easier just to repair broken strands than have to take them all up and down. But it starts, we got to build a soundtrack for it, so we custom mix our own soundtrack for it. That we usually do in springtime. In summer, we start doing large scale projects, so that's we've multiple times trenched power and data everywhere because you got to get making internet cover 12 acres takes a lot. Um, and then we start putting lights up in August, September, and it becomes almost every day. Um, One of our neighbors, he owns a DJ company, so he's got the weeks off, and he pretty much foremans the whole project, and is out there. He's probably, the minute the rain stops now, he'll be back out there today. So um, we do all that, uh, and it's really sort of, when I get into the programming side, there's really sort of three phases of the programming for it that we do. So there's getting all the infrastructure up, which takes a lot. I think uh, if I do a scan, there's easily over 100 network devices that got to reliably stay up. So we've got everything from like wireless ISP point to point bridges that are tying, because we're going across roads, so I can't just string a Cat 5 across a road, unfortunately. Um, so we've got that, getting all the network, getting all the controllers. So um, we use Beagle bones, which are very similar to Raspberry Pis with little capes on them that drive the actual lights. Every one of those is a computer. There's at least 30 of those that we have spread out amongst all the houses. Just the firmware updating alone on that takes forever. So getting all that up and just getting the lights usually just flashing red, green, blue. Um, you've got that whole phase. Then you got to get into actually programming it. So we sequence the whole thing ourselves. So we take that soundtrack we made, and then you got to sit and actually go, well, I want these lights on here, this on here. And that's hundreds of hours in on that. So that's where we're at right now. I basically work during the day, get the kids to bed, and then start on a song at night and go from 9 till 2, 3 in the morning. My neighbors will put up, I'll flip the show on at 3 in the morning and have the whole neighborhood going just to see stuff. Because what looks really good on the computer monitor can either look totally bad outside, or sometimes you get happy accidents and you're like, that is not at all what I wanted, but it looks really cool. So, the show's about 8 minutes this year. Um, every minute in it is probably 3, 4 days of just hours and hours of programming. You learn every beat inside and out, and uh, that's the longest part of it, is really just trying to subdivide down all the beats and get stuff to line up, and um, it's a lot of fun. And then once the show opens, the third part, and this is where I really tie in a lot of AV programming, is it's great. It's all up and running, and it's great. I've got those 100 devices. I need to actually be able to like monitor them and manage them and make sure, get it to a point. When we first started this, we would start the show an hour early and go drive around and check everything out. That's just not sustainable. So over time, I've just built more and more and more into our show monitoring system, um, to solve one, let it tell me when there's issues, or two, ideally, fix them for me so I don't have to go out and fix them. And that's how this whole thing derived. It started with a very basic. One of the controllers would drop offline once a week, and I'd stare out my front window and be like, "Oh, there's a chunk of the woods that's dark. That's not cool." I wonder if I could automate that, and that's when I started going down this road, and now here we are.
Wow, wow. So if you didn't listen to our previous episode, Kevin talked a lot about show control. This is a prime example of it, and really all that goes into it. And as he said, hundreds of hours per minute of programming, which is phenomenally huge. And plus, all the creativity. What are one or two lessons learned as you've gone through this that you could share that you think the audience can benefit from?
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, the biggest lesson if you're trying to do light shows is, remember, not everybody can see everything at once. So we've gotten very good, as I said in the last episode, a good programmer is a lazy programmer. I've gotten really good at doing things like grouping sections together or breaking it into, each house has, going from north to south, a quarter of it. If somebody is in front of one house, they're not going to see the other house. So if you watch the whole thing from the sky, it's the same thing happening in a lot of different places. Um, and then, there's times we'll do whole sweeping things, but you're never going to see the whole thing from it. So, um, that is the biggest time saver we have, is, I mean, because otherwise there's hundreds of individual elements we'd be programming. So the whole thing gets programmed based off different groups. So um, I've got what I call 8-note groups, where I actually divide it into 8, and then sometimes I will, actually take sheet music and try and draw. And so if you watch going up and down the street, it follows the sheet music and stuff. Um, just lots of fun stuff like that on that side. But sequencing a light show is a art form in itself. And there are people who do it full time and do it much better than I do. But we've gotten good over the years at doing it. We have the whole neighborhood 3D modeled, so I can watch it here and see what I think it'll look like. But there's definitely uh, variability between what you actually get and what it looks like on the computer. So many hours in November I spend sitting in my car, creeping on the neighborhood, looking around, and just watching the show from all the different vantage points. And by the time you get to the end, it's a 2-hour ordeal every night to watch it from 6, 7, 8 different spots.
Very cool, and that kind of ties into the whole, user experience and usability, as we discussed a bit in our last episode as well. Be needing to look at it from all the different vantage points and understanding the experience that somebody may have, because it isn't just one perspective.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So, um, and that's it. One of the other things we discuss is just how we come up with it. There's a lot of things we've developed for this. They've just come out of necessity. So, like when we first started this, uh, there's not a single access point I'm aware of that can cover 13 acres. So having internet everywhere, it took us a long time to get to that. We've got pretty good coverage now, but so that was like one of what after I figured out how to automate rebooting a controller, that was one of the next things we moved on to is how can I take a two-way radio and tie it into a control system. And so somebody can send a message from a two-way radio. So any one of my neighbors can hit turn test mode on and flip all the lights on, flip them all off. So a lot of the initial integration stuff we built was all around just making our lives easier for it. So the whole show can completely be controlled over two-way radio. It can be controlled from user interfaces. So we've got GUIs that live. I've got them up at my house. I've got a couple neighbors that have them up. I've got one neighbor who's got a 70-inch TV in his garage that just shows a live map showing everything. So, we watch it. If something's got an API, we tie it in. So this year we added power monitoring. So every place we connect to an AC main, we've got a little $15 Shelly IoT relay. They support MQTT, so we're able to take MQTT. All of that dumps into Grafana to be able to map it all, but I also pull it into QSys. I have QSys do some fun things like here's how many watts we're currently using. It does an API call every day out to get the current power cost and actually tells us here's how much you're paying at this minute for running the light show and stuff. But that allows us the ability when things lock up over time. So we have it to the point now, if I lose a controller and it doesn't respond to an API call, or I've transitioned a lot of it to MQTT just to keep messaging down. Then we start a timer. If it stops communicating in that amount of time, then switches all support SNMP. We send SNMP, go turn PoE off on the port. All the controllers are PoE powered. We've all modified them to do that. Bring it back on. And then that usually self-recovers itself. We had issues with some of the wireless ISP antennas dropping offline. So those have a little Shelly. The Shellys that control those have a very simple scripting language. Once a minute, it pings back to the main head-end system. If it can't ping it, it turns all the power off for that network switch, which then kills the antenna and brings it back on. So a lot of what we built now is all around keeping it up and running and then adding in redundant layers. So we transmit the audio on FM. Last year, we realized, hey, you know what? We've had the same FM transmitter for 9 years or 8 years at that point. Maybe we should get a backup one just in case, because that'd be a real big single point of failure. So I have redundant ones, but I wanted to come up with a way to actually tell if it automatically dies, just fail over automatically. So because all the audio runs through QSys, I know what the audio should look like. I put an FM tuner in my rack that actually receives the FM station. And I started playing with trying to compare waveforms. That got really, really complicated. And then I realized we send blank audio at the end of the show. So if I get no audio within a 10-minute period, I reset a timer because I know, okay, cool, I hit that. If the FM dies, static's going to be static all day. And so just build a whole system off that, hey, if it in 10 minutes doesn't get a break, go flip to the backup FM transmitter. And then send alerting off all that. So one of my favorite tools is a app called Pushover. It's $5. And it's got APIs both to send messages into it and get messages out of it. So I have like 15 integrations I've written for QSys. I have everything going through. So the light show reports through it. We do car counting through it. So every hour it sends an attendance report. When devices go offline, it goes through it. I've got my router going through it. So the minute a device connects to the network, I get a message on my phone, which is really nice when you're 15 feet up in the air on a ladder and you want to know, did this thing actually connect to the network, actually getting a message with that. So there's lots of fun projects we've built in over the years with this.
Totally amazing. I mean, it's mind blowing the amount of time and creativity and infrastructure and programming that that it takes to make all of this work. Completely amazing. James, what are your thoughts in terms of what programmers can learn from something like this? It's, I mean, clearly this is a, something that you have to be passionate about to be doing at the level that Kevin's doing it.
Yes, you definitely got to be passionate about it, do at that level. I think this, just hearing Kevin talk, ties in a lot of things Steve and I have talked about over the years of these episodes. First one is like, how do we start in programming? Find a pet project. If you notice, Kevin came with, yeah, he was already a programmer, but they had a pet project. It started small. That's another thing we talked about, start small, iterate, add to it, build onto it. And then also we talked about programming is never done. Kevin's been at this for 9 years and probably be at it for another 9 years. The project is never done. So I think that is awesome. Um, Hearing Kevin talk about the light show, it's great because I've always wanted to do something like that, not to that scale. Just probably single house. My brother used to do just our house with those kind of pixel lights and all that stuff with a Raspberry Pi. And actually, I still remember that after the first year he threw it up, he would run different shows for different holidays because the lights were up all year on the roof and stuff. And we had a neighbor come and goes, I can't believe you folks go up there every holiday and change out the lights. And we're like, we don't. We just changed the program. It's all computer based. So it's very interesting that you can do that. And a whole side project I have that I gotta get going again was my aquarium where I started small, just like Kevin said with the push notification. Um, I use a different one, which I'm not sure Kevin used. Push bullet was one I used for my aquarium where it actually monitored the temperature in my saltwater aquarium. And if it got too hot or too cold, I would get a push notification to my smartwatch and my phone saying, hey, the tank temperature is out of range. So yeah, it's making our lives easier. That's what, like Kevin said, we're lazy. Lazy programmers is the best way to be.
Yeah, 100%. And like your project, that's one of the cool things with just how many IoT devices there are these days that are open and you can use it. Like those Shelly relays are super cheap and easy and simple. Every one of those has a scripting side to it that you can go in and script anything. Or um, my favorite, we had to build an emergency stop button last year. Um, I went down to Micro Center and got a Pi Pico for $5 or $7. Like, and you can write a very basic script, but it's doing API calls, it's sending MQTT messages. Like, if it's so easy to get little to ESP32s are a great example that have taken over. As I can get a computer for a couple bucks and be able to just do anything, even if I'm not doing any type of GPIO or anything with it. Just being able to build and tinker on a device and stuff, like it's the accessibility of being able to get this stuff now is insane, and it's so fun.
Isn't it crazy how far things have come? You know, it's what we used to do. People thought was magic when I was started in the industry, and I'm talking, 30 years ago, but it's so much more mainstream now, and it really is what we are about. We just apply it to AV applications, but everything that Kevin's describing is what programmers can learn in order to get into this industry, in order to advance themselves in the industry. And these are all things that are off the shelf products that are easily attainable. You just have to find a a solution something that you wanted to put it to use for. Um,
Yeah, that is a big one. I know I keep talking about aquarium, but like Kevin's talking about, finding those things, those pet projects in making iteration, the APIs. And I think that is really the world we live in, is especially as programmers, is those API calls. I remember reading about a project someone did for their aquarium. Now, all it was their aquarium light, but that person was they loved the Caribbean. They lived, I forget where they lived, but they lived in a cold environment, but they loved the Caribbean. So he actually he had a smart light, and he wrote that tied to a buoy out in the Caribbean and got the weather off the Caribbean, and he would mimic the weather pattern over his tank. So if it was cloudy, it looked cloudy. If the
Yes.
clouds were moving northwest, it would move northwest over the tank, just because he loved the Caribbean so much.
Really cool stuff. So before we wrap up, I do have one question, Kevin. Do you have to vet people that move into the neighborhood and make sure that they're on board with this?
Well, like I said at the beginning, I am now in my second house in the neighborhood. So when I moved, I ended up being lucky enough to be able to buy my neighbor's house, and luckily the woman who bought my house, her brother lives in the neighborhood, so she knew what she was in for and has actually pushed us to take stuff even further, and got her brother to join in, which was always sort of a holdout. So yes, it's definitely you better like Christmas lights out here. So
Yeah, it almost sounds like you're increasing the neighborhood value because
yeah,
people probably want to be part of this. So really cool stuff. And I also love the way neighbors come together. It's such a
yeah.
great story. The charitable part of it, it's really amazing. I hope that you get more and more visibility around this because everything that you're doing here, it truly is something that's admirable. And I give you a lot of credit for all the time that you put into it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a blast. I love it. I have a um 5 and or almost 6. She'll be 6 in almost a month, and 4-year old. And I mean they I don't think we could ever live anywhere else because this is what they think every house should be like. But all the kids in the neighborhood are involved. You know, they come out and they help me hang lights all the time, and it's just, it is so cool. You know, we'll be out on a Saturday, and you hear Buckeyes game on the radio all up and down the street of people out hanging lights and everything. It's very cool. It's brought us all together as a neighborhood, which has been really fun with it. um, and it's really fun to just sit outside. We'll make campfires even when it's 10, 15 degrees out, and just sit out and just listen to everybody rolling through. I mean, because you'll have people with their kids hanging out of their car and everything. I mean, and it's so cool just watching it and
Yeah.
seeing everybody come through, and we really we enjoy it. I don't think I'd ever go back to not doing something this crazy.
Well, kudos to you. It's truly amazing. And as I said, everybody in the audience, please check out the website lightshownetwork.com. Also, reach out to Kevin. Kevin, why don't you let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, learn more, and even any tips for somebody that wants to get started doing something like this.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the cool things, the Christmas light community is massive, and so um, there are almost every state's got some sort of Christmas light convention meetup. They call them minis. So there's tons of resources for it, and almost anybody who does it is as crazy about it as we are. So if you see a display, go stop and talk to them. I mean, people love to talk about their Christmas lights. So it's this is a great time to get into it. It's really there's tons and tons of research. There's a Zoom room that is open 24/7, 365 that has people in it pretty much 24/7 just to help people out with their shows and everything. So it's a very, very cool, very helping community. Um, there's just tons of resources. Just Google X Lights and you'll go on forever. So X Lights is the open source software that we program it all in. There's a couple other softwares out there, but it's definitely the big one. Um, As far as getting a hold of me, you can find me on LinkedIn, find me on Kisa's communities. Um, find, like Steve said, I've got just all this stuff we've done is on Light Show Network. If you're around Columbus, Ohio, come check out the show some years. It's Lucy Depp Park Light Show. Um, yeah, that's how you can find me.
Very cool. And as I said in the last episode, Kevin's always willing to help and answer questions. He's very approachable. So please reach out to him, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of value out of the conversation. Thanks for being with us, Kevin. It's been a
Yeah, definitely.
great 2 episodes.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
James, any final words from you and anything you wanted to share, as well as how people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, a couple of things I like to share. One, if you haven't, definitely go check out the website, thelightshow.com. Great information on there. It's cool what Kevin's doing and his neighbors. Two, if you haven't connected with Kevin, definitely connect with Kevin. I know I make sure I'm connected to our outstanding guests here. Also, if you are in Columbus, Ohio, or even if your area does have light shows, I know because I'm not as connected as Kevin in those, but I do know about many of them. Most of them do a charitable donation. So make that donation, help out the community out there, because I'm sure even though the parts are cheap, it costs a lot of money to run what Kevin and his neighbors are doing. And then of course the money they give out to charities. So definitely support them.
Excellent. And I know you're always available online, so people can Google you and find you that way. And please connect with Kevin and James and me on LinkedIn and through the uh, Ask the Programmer LinkedIn group. This is how this conversation started, and it's great to hear and connect and also build community around more programmers out there. I'm sure that there's a lot of cool things that people are doing, and we'd like to share them. So please reach out to us and let us know that you're out there, and we'd like to have you on the show. Um, uh, to reach me, you could find me at Steve Greenblatt on social platforms. LinkedIn is the most prominent one, and my company, Control Concepts, is a supporter of this podcast, and we build some of the uh, manufacturer product integrations with control platforms and do a lot of API work. So you could find that at controlconcepts.net. If you are watching this show on YouTube, you could also catch us on your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening to the show, check us out on YouTube. And please make sure that you visit the show notes, and I'll be providing links to some of the things that Kevin discussed for this podcast. And also check out the previous episode where you can learn more about Kevin's background. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.